The Greater Centerville Historians organized in the year 2000. The purpose of the organization is to preserve the history of the Township of Centerville, Cleveland and surrounding area. Gerald O'Neill, Charlie Bauer, Richard Wiegand, and myself, Kathleen Sixel, were the founding members. In 1831, the territory south of Green Bay was sold to the U.S. government by the Native Americans who had title to the land. The consideration was the promise of a reservation in another state. The Township of Centerville was established in 1850. The township had a village called Centerville. The reason for the hamlet's original name of Centerville was, in the days of the Indians, there was a trail along Lake Michigan between Manitowoc and Sheboygan. This heavenly spot was exactly at the halfway mark, so the early white man gave it the name Centerville. In 1849, the village of Centerville was surveyed and laid out in lots and blocks. The village of Centerville was renamed Hika when the Postmaster General informed the village leaders that another Centerville was located in the state. When it became time for Centerville to be renamed, a judge in Manitowoc by the name of Albert Schmidt would take kids hiking. The judge said, "You can't call a town hiking, so why not make it Hika?" Thus, the village of Centerville became Hika. In the early years, Centerville had the vision of becoming a lake port. To encourage ships to dock there, 2 piers were built into Lake Michigan. Many German immigrants arrived by schooners, and the village began to grow. The village had a brick factory, stores, schools, a Lutheran and a Catholic church, mills, saloons, blacksmith shop, and a fire department, and a brewery. When the brewery was built, the settlement began to flourish. But when fire destroyed the brewery, the largest industry, there was no longer a need for the harbor facilities. So ended this chapter of the development of Hika. 2 miles west of Hika, another settlement known as St. Wendel began to grow. It had a Catholic church, a general store with a connected dance hall, and a post office was also located in the complex, a funeral parlor, and at one time a motel. With the clearing of the forest, tilling of the land began. This prompted the exporting of lumber and grains. The farmers of Centerville looked forward to the building of a railway since they had a serious problem transporting their products. In 1873, the Milwaukee, Lakeshore, and Western Railroad was built between the settlements of Hika and St. Wendel and was named Centerville Station. In 1880, Centerville Station was renamed Cleveland after President Grover Cleveland. Cleveland, at that point in time, owes its growth to the fact that the Township of Centerville was a rich farming community, and farmers for miles around would bring products to be shipped by rail or ship. The village of Cleveland had several grocery stores, a furniture store, a funeral parlor, several saloons, Lutheran church, hardware stores, several gas stations, newspaper, photographer studio, several car dealerships, cheese factory, several feed mills, livestock yard, and lumber yards. The biggest business was the Cleveland Co-op, which offered many types of services. With the failing of grain crops, the farmers began dairy farming. With the abundance of milk, another industry began, cheese and butter making. Local cheese factories dotted the countryside. One-room schools were usually built near the cheese factories, so children would have a ride to school when farmers brought their milk. In 1958, Hika, St. Wendel, and Cleveland incorporated into the village of Cleveland. In 1968, the Cleveland Elementary School was built. The Township of Centerville has seen many farming changes, but dairy farming is still the primary vocation. Today, Cleveland is known as the seat of Lakeshore Technical College, which offers an educational alternative to four-year colleges. An ancient proverb states, When an old person dies, a library burns to the ground. These words were the inspiration for organizing the Greater Centerville Historians. We hope to preserve as many memories as possible.
Okay, I think we're going to be ready to start tonight, and it's nice to see everybody survive the big winter. And if anybody's not busy tonight, I still didn't find my Easter basket, so now I look for it. I'm beginning to think maybe I didn't get one this year. I don't know. We're going to open our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, so I'm going to ask everyone to stand, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, the way we're going to work it tonight, we're going to have everyone introduce themselves, and we'll probably start there. All we need is your name and where you're from, and we'll go over here to Marie, and then Marie can pass it back, and then back this way. And I'm going to ask everybody, when you use the microphone, you have to talk into the microphone. If you hold it down here, nobody's going to hear you. You got to have it right up here. You should be able to hear yourself in the ceiling. If you don't hear yourself, nobody else can hear you. And the microphone will do a good job of picking it up. So I'm going to turn the microphone over to Kathy, and she's going to officially open our meeting, and then we're going to pass the microphone over to here.
Good evening, everybody, and I hope everybody had a wonderful, or really a blessed Easter, because it's an important event. We only have a few simple rules, and number one is please raise your hand when you have information to add so Mr. O'Neill can get over to you with his camera so we do not miss any information. Always state your name, your full name, don't use nicknames, and please do not visit when Jerry is recording because it picks up on the video. And always pass photos around if there are any, and please shut your cell phones off. So with that, we'll start. Right here. State your name and where you're from.
Phil Kanoff, Kiel.
Okay, thank you, Phil.
Jim Kettler, Cleveland.
Patty Groupie, Cleveland. Gertie Free, Cleveland.
Richard Schwartz, Tonamimi.
Alice Mathias, Cleveland. Irene Dine, Cleveland.
Lisa Elson, Newton. Marie Rosenbauer, Newton.
Earl Eldridge, Cleveland. Paul Schwinn, Cleveland.
Frederick Jacoby, Manitowoc.
Rick Beiersdorf, Nini. Ken Smazel, Rockville.
June Smazel, Rockville.
Marie Wolfel, Kiel.
Hans Schneider, Lewis Corners.
I'm Charlie Bauer from Newton, and I'm going to have Kathy introduce our presenter tonight. Oh, Jerry, you're going to have to introduce yourself.
Good grief, not again.
Jerry O'Neill from Newton also.
I'm Kathy Sixel, and our presenter this evening is K.Husband, and she's going to be telling us about their barn, which became their home, and also about the Wimler family. Thank you, Kirsten, and go ahead, please.
I'm not sure I can multitask. I have to click a mouse and talk into a microphone, and I'll probably do it in reverse, so we'll have a good laugh. The last time I gave a talk was, I teach some childbirth classes, and I went to pull down the screen and the string broke off. So I'm always prepared for something to go wrong. I have a presentation to show you tonight. I'm certainly not an expert in any of the things I'm going to be talking about. If you are, please pipe in If you have questions or comments, please do that too. I'm going to end it with a video. And these are all very homemade. Nothing as good a caliber as Jerry does. These are a little bit older, but they work. And you'll probably see some people that you recognize. Everybody hear me okay? Yes. Let's go to the barn. Most children growing up today do not know what it is like to play in a barn. They don't know the musty, sweet smell of the hay or the exciting, comforting sounds of large animals shifting their weight and rattling their stanchions. They haven't had the chance to marvel at cobwebs as thick as hawsers draped on ancient, mysterious wooden wagons. Okay, now I know how to work this thing. All right, and leather harnesses in the unused sections of the loft. They don't know what it feels like to swoop on a string with impossibly long ropes from the dark inside of the barn to daylight outside, or the daring sensation of leaping down from the loft into loose hay. They don't know the constant sounds and rustlings of barns as the great wooden structures respond to the wind or the sun, as swallows crisscross under the roof beams, as small animals scatter at the approach of the barn cat. They are unaware of innumerable marks left by people and events of days and decades gone by. Few of us alive today know the barn as the focus of long hours of hard work, whether emptying out wagons of loose hay and tossing it into the loft, or milking in the winter, head against the steaming side of the cow. Many children and their parents do not know of the endless feeding of animals and forking out their manure. Like great churches, the light slanting not through stained glass windows, but through the irregular gaps between planks, barns make their occupants look up. As in a church, exactly what we see when we gaze into the vast upper spaces remains suggestive rather than definitive. Barns are homes of physical work in the Shaker sense. Hands to work, hearts to God. I'm calling my presentation Barn Reborn, the story of the second chance. Oh, there's ladies in the room, and I don't know if you're anything like me, but you scheme a lot. And our house was very nice. We built it in about 1980, raised 2 kids in it, but it felt kind of small. So I wanted to do something to make our house bigger. And I wanted to do something just a little bit different. So I'm scheming and plotting. And I don't know if you guys have the same kind of life like I am, but my poor husband had to put up with all sorts of my harebrained ideas, one of which was what I'm going to show you tonight. I had this very bright idea. All right, what do you see? I had vision. What you just saw, I could see looking entirely differently. And when I thought about giving this presentation, I never knew that the pictures and the video that we took would ever be shown to anybody. But I thought I would also like to talk a little bit about the history of the people who actually built that barn and worked in that barn. And so that's where we're going to start. The story begins with somebody named Christian Robb. He was born in Germany in 1822. His father was a shipowner and a dealer in grain and produce. In 1845, he decided to make his home in the United States and ended up in Sheboygan in 1848. He was a very prominent Sheboygan businessman, and he died in 1880. He was prominent enough that he actually has a little history written about him. And I won't read the whole thing, but I'll just read a little bit. And this is from 1894. Christian Robb was a prominent character during the early history of Sheboygan. In his native land, he received a good education, as his father, William Robb, was an extensive vessel owner and a dealer in grain and produce. On reaching manhood, young Christian also engaged in the grain and produce business. In 1845, he decided to make his home in the New World and accordingly took shipping at Antwerp, New York. Going on to Chicago, he turned his course northward and located in Calumet County, Wisconsin, where he purchased a tract of wild land. On this he lived and kept bachelor's hall for a time. Not fascinated with that sort of life, he left his land and came to Sheboygan in 1848. He first engaged in selling land and town property, but later rented a warehouse and began to deal in grain and produce. He also did an extensive business in the line of shipbuilding. Among the vessels he constructed or helped to construct are the Michael Dousman, Lucy Robb, City of Sheboygan, Evening Star, Morning Star, Charlotte Robb, named in honor of his wife, and Little Georgie, named for his youngest child. All the above-named vessels are still afloat. So he was very prominent in Sheboygan history. Between 1800 and 1850, 30,000 European immigrants landed at the port of Quebec. Many, of course, came directly to the United States, mostly through New York, but many came through Quebec. And back in those times, the voyage could have lasted up to a month. It was very hard, of course, for these people to leave home. Right now we can, telephone, we can Skype, we can fly back and forth, it's nothing. But these people, it was often that you would never see your family again. This picture is actually German from the late 1840s. And I have a little excerpt here to read. This is from a publication of the State Historical Society. The human costs involved in the decision to emigrate remained high, and departure scenes were usually heartrending, as many German immigrants to Wisconsin were to testify. A member of the Schutte family, who departed Germany for Manitowoc County in 1848, wrote, "The neighbors and friends were on hand to say a last farewell, and tears flowed in profusion, since anyone leaving for America was considered about to pass into eternity. Sometimes bitterness towards those deserting the homeland split families apart, and on occasion the separation proved too much for those left behind. Jacob Eifler of Sheboygan recalled that his grandfather passed away from grief and heartache 2 years after members of his family set sail for the United States." One of the families that came just a few years after that was written came from Sachsen-Weimar in Germany, and it was Gottlieb, Christiana, Franz, and Edward Windler, and they came in the summer of 1852. Now, one thing you'll find is that names are very fluid and change, and sometimes she's Christiana, and sometimes she's Christine, and sometimes she's Franz, and sometimes she's Frank, but you just gotta bear with that. Now, how do I know when they came? Well, I was lucky enough to find the naturalization papers for Franz and Edward, showing that they came in July of 1852 and that they landed in Quebec. So that was really a good find. The crossing. None of the passenger records exist prior to 1865 for anyone who landed in Quebec, and for me that's really a bummer, because I really like to do this and I like to research the ship and all those kinds of things, but unfortunately those records are gone, so we have to sort of use our imaginations. Before the 1850s, that trip could have taken 8 weeks, but in 1850, steamships started sailing, and that cut the voyage to under 3 weeks. Most immigrants traveled in steerage. The overwhelming majority of immigrants traveled in steerage where there was no lighting and passengers were packed as tightly as space would allow. Steerage passengers had to provide their own bedding. Each passenger got a berth that was 18 inches wide by 6 feet long. The berths were often in tiers up to 4 rows high. Frequently, they were poorly built and rickety. Men and women who were strangers to each other before the start of the journey were berthed together. In 1852, a new law required that men be berthed separately. So we'll assume the Windlers were male and female because they came in 1852. The trip was not a dry one. Water seeped into steerage through holes that were supposed to be for ventilation. Most passengers were seasick the first few days out and only in rough weather afterwards. It was impossible to come on deck in bad weather. The hatches would be battened down and passengers in steerage would have to remain below in the dark and rocking ship. There was on average 1 toilet for every 100 passengers. Frequently, the toilet was on deck where they could not be reached in rough weather. Because of the close quarters in which they lived, passengers often suffered from illnesses like trench mouth, body ulcers, and lice. Conditions were frightful. Immigrant ships were recognized by the smell. Early ships were often called coffin ships because of the frightful conditions and the numbers of people who died during the crossing. In 1847, 1,879 immigrants died on the voyage to New York. I don't know whether it was a German ship or not that the Windlers came on, but it could very well have been. While French and British shipping companies made their passengers cook their own meals, German shipping companies provided meals for their steerage passengers. The Germans, we love our food. The menu: Sunday, salt meat, meal pudding and prunes. Monday, salt bacon, pea soup and potatoes. Tuesday, salt meat, rice and prunes. All those prunes with 1 toilet. Wednesday, smoked bacon, sauerkraut, and potatoes. Thursday, salt meat, potatoes and bean soup. Friday, herring, meal and prunes. Saturday, salt bacon, pea soup and potatoes. That sounds okay. Prunes. Wisconsin did make active efforts to attract German immigrants. In 1852, the year the Windlers arrived, the state legislature established a commission of immigration to distribute informational pamphlets to prospective immigrants as well as new arrivals. So they actually sent people over to Germany to pass out flyers. And this is one that was published in Milwaukee in 1851. And it does go through great detail, all sorts of things, but I'll read you a little excerpt it says about Manitowoc. So this is to lure the Germans to come here. Manitowoc now this is 1851. Manitowoc has a population of some 500 or 600 and is a flourishing business condition, rapidly advancing in all respects. There is an excellent pier at this place, unequaled by any on the lake, and well managed by its enterprising owners, Messrs. Case and Clark. Several propellers and steamboats have been plying regularly between Manitowoc, Milwaukee, and Chicago during the last season, which contributed much to the business and commerce of the place. Manitowoc can justly boast of natural advantages superior to any point in the shore of Lake Michigan. Manitowoc River, which passes through the town, will average over 300 feet in width and from 12 to 15 feet in depth for the distance of 3 miles from the mouth, emptying directly into the finest bay on Lake Michigan, which of itself affords ample protection to vessels in ordinary flows. So they would give you all sorts of facts and figures of how many people came, how much produce was shipped out, and so on and so forth. So perhaps the Windlers saw something like this before they came. But word of mouth was probably even more influential in getting people to come. By far, the most effective stimuli to German immigration were the unsolicited testimonials of recently arrived settlers. Immigrants wrote back to their friends, relatives, and neighbors in the old country, describing their new lives in America and Wisconsin. This was information to be trusted and acted upon. From his new home in Waukesha County, J.K. Meidenbauer wrote to his sister in Germany in 1849, "You will next ask, is it really good in America? And I can give you the answer from my full conviction. Yes, it is really good here. I would advise my sister Barbara to come over with her intended, for she can do no better in Germany. There are no dues, no titles here, no taxes, no mounted police, no beggars." Such so-called America letters prompted hometown clubs in Europe to send emissaries to Wisconsin in search of land suitable for settlement. New Holstein in Calumet County was settled in this fashion when a group of freethinkers, impressed by enthusiastic letters and newspaper reports, emigrated as a body. The common route followed by immigrants to Wisconsin was by steamboat up the Hudson River to Albany. And I don't know from Quebec, but I'm assuming that they came also on the Great Lakes. There are newspaper accounts of some of the steamships that dock in Milwaukee, but they don't have passenger lists. So we'll not probably ever be able to know for sure the exact path that the Windler family came on. So, how did I know who even built this barn? Kathy saw me many times in the courthouse looking up records. What I did was I got the current tax records, found out who owns the property now, and then traced it back. That was lots of fun. If you've never been in the archives at the courthouse, you can just really get lost. It's very, very fascinating. So the first document showing that the Wimlers settled here is the land record in 1852, and Christian and Caroline Robb sold 40 acres to Gottlieb Wimler for $100. This is the earliest map I can find. This is where the barn was. This is where we are now. Here's LTC here. So that should give you a little bit of a perspective. This is Union Road. One of the best places to find information are the census records, and that's something it's also a lot of fun, and you have to be very creative sometimes and have imagination as to what it says, because the people I'm always looking for, the enumerator wrote it with the most dreadful handwriting ever, blotchy ink, and where the mice chewed it. But you do find a lot of information. But there are state census records, and there was one for 1855, and sure enough, there he is, Gottlieb Wimler, and it only lists households. It has, he is the head with 3 males and 1 female, but at least now we know he has a family with him. And this is the 1855 census for Centerville. The next census is the federal census of 1860, and nowhere could I find Gottlieb Wimler. And I thought, no, he has to be here. He simply has to be here. So with a great deal of detective work, I found out that he was transcribed as Gottlieb Wendel. And once I found him, then I found him for real. And there is Gottlieb, his wife now Christine, his son Frank, and Edward. On March 16, 1861, Gottlieb sold the farm to his older son, Franz, for $300. And that may have been a wedding present, perhaps, because 2 days later he gets married, and he marries Lena Topel. Do you say Topel? Table? The good German way. Okay. Thank you. If I pronounce it wrong, let me know. So he married Lena Table. Another wonderful place to get information are church records, and I usually think those are some of the most accurate because they were done more or less on the spot. They're not done in hindsight and retrospectively. There was a Saxon church, and those records are now preserved for the most part, and I was able to access those thanks to Kathy. So I do have some copies of church records, and those were very helpful. Gottlieb Windler died March 26, 1869. And what's very interesting about this is you can actually almost read it, and it has his mother's maiden name. So if I could ever get back to Germany, I can perhaps track down exactly where the family came from. That's going to be very helpful. Saxon Cemetery, which is on Union Road. Most of you probably know where that is, just not too far from the Windler's farm. And most of the Windlers are buried there. Here's Gottlieb's grave. However, there's a bit of a boo-boo. He didn't die in 1879. He died in 1869. So I have to assume that the church record is correct. He's next to the tree, and just over here is his wife's grave. Not very close together, but in hers you can read. It has her death date as 1859. I don't know that for a fact. I'll have to trust that it's true. This is the cemetery, and what I noticed when I took these pictures is right here is the Windler farm. So that's within sight of their graves. The next sense, there is, did you want to say something?
Which side of the road was their farm? On the east side or the west side?
South.
On the south side?
South side.
South side,
Mhm.
okay.
South side.
I think that was where Buster lived.
Yes,
Donnie Classic.
yes,
Oh,
it is.
okay.
We're going to get to
Thank
that,
you.
but you're right, yes. The 1865 census for Wisconsin is gone, so we can't look them up there. So the next census is 1870. And here we know that Gottlieb and his wife Christine, or Christiana, are both dead. So now the farm is run by Frank, his son, his wife Lena. They had 3 daughters, and Wilhelmina Gupsch is there helping take care of the children. Anna and Minna's birth predate the church records that we have, but the rest of the kids are there in the Saxon church records. Ottilie Windler's birth, she was actually christened Emma, 1867. Frida, actually Lena Frida, just about everybody's name Lena, 1870. Willie Windler, and he was actually baptized Willie, not William, but he becomes William. Willie Franz in 1873. Charlie, who was actually Carl Herman, 1875. Emma, who was Emma Clara, in 1878. Some of these are almost illegible. Some you can make out. It's very interesting because you get dates of birth and dates of baptism and also the sponsors. Next census, 1880. Franz and Lena. Daughter Anna is 18. In 1881, she marries August Leonard. Ottilie is 12. In 1887, she marries William Gupsch. These are neighbors. Frida marries Thomas Connor in 1899, and I'm really intrigued with Frida. First of all, she's the only one who marries an Irishman, and they went and were married in California. So they went in 1899 to California. He died in 1901. I don't know what. I do have a picture of his gravestone. And she stayed there, but then she came back too. She had one child, according to her obituary, who died and must have died as an infant. It's never mentioned again. And I always wonder, how come Frida married an Irishman and went to California? There's Willie and Charlie, and now we also have Emma. And now here's another interesting mystery. I had copied these names as they were transcribed. And Emma marries in 1897 Charles A. Hammond. Here's Anna Windler's marriage record, 1881 to August Leonard. Minnie and Ottilie both married in 1887, one in February, one in June. But where's Minna? Where did she go? She isn't in the 1880 census. Was she dead? No, there's no grave. She was not with her family. Where could she have gone? So I searched through the 1880 census. And she's living just down the road with W.T. Albers, who's a teacher. And he taught at what was the Saxon School, now the Pleasant Hill School, where the track shoot place is. And he was also the census enumerator of the 1880 census, so that was kind of fun to see him. So she's 15 years old. She's living with he and his wife and their 2 little children. There is no 1890 census. That makes it very difficult. All right, 2 sisters in the records. Minna married a C.A. Hannon in 1887, and Emma married a Charles A. Hannon in 1897. Could it have been the same man? I mean, what a coincidence. And yes, indeed it is. Minna died in 1896, leaving 5 children, and of course her husband would need to find someone to help to take care of them. What's interesting is there is a record of Minna's death, and this is from Der Nordwesten, which must have been a German newspaper. Death in Centerville on Monday of Mrs. Minna Hammond, wife of Charles Hammond. The young woman was born 3rd of April, 1865 in town Centerville, and married her surviving husband in February 1887. The death occurred Monday, 23rd of March, from general weakness following a violent hemorrhage and high fever. In addition to her husband, she is survived by 5 children, 3 boys and 2 girls, of whom the eldest is about 8 and the youngest 2. Now, I don't know what would have caused a violent hemorrhage and a high fever in a young woman, but seeing as I'm an OB nurse, I wondered if perhaps she had a miscarriage. I mean, you can hemorrhage from lots of things. Somebody want to fix this? There, okay. A little comedy relief. Okay. You can edit that out.
I will.
Okay. It doesn't say an illness.
I thank you for taking up your time there.
You didn't get these people on tape. All right. So anyway, that's my theory. I have no idea. But anyway, so he married her sister to help raise the children. In 1890, I found a record of the assets for the Wendel farm, and I think this is great. This is what livestock was valued at. 2 horses, $55, 7 cows, 2 sheep, 4 pigs, 2 wagons, and other. So, you know, pig worth twice as much as a sheep. I thought that was kind of interesting. And it was interesting, too, to see all the different farmers. Some must have had a little bit better cows than others. Now the farm is going to change hands again, and on November 1st, 1898, Franz and Lena sell the original 40 acres plus another 40 acres to their son Willie for $3,000. Mortgage was 5 years, 4%, just about right now, and 5 months later, Franz gets married. So again, perhaps in anticipation of a new bride and taking over. Next census, the 1900. Here's William, his wife Lena. They have a little girl, Elma, and Mom and Dad, Franz and Lena, are living there. Emma is Lena's sister. The last name spelled totally different than in other records. And Charles, who will marry Catherine Bursch in 1902. Here's Elma's birth registered in the church records, February 1900. Franz Wimler dies in 1904, and Lena dies in 1907. 1910 records. William, Lena, Elma, Mildred, who is actually Mildred, but I wrote it as it is, Nina, Edwin, who is actually Edward, and then a hired hand. There's also a couple biographies here, Manitowoc County, from the history of Manitowoc County, Wisconsin, dated 1911-1912. One is for William and one is for Charles. And I'll read a little bit, you can read too, but William Wilmer is a successful farmer and stock raiser. He was born in this township, a son of Franz Wendel, a native of Germany. The father, who followed agricultural pursuits throughout his entire lifetime, died in 1904. The mother, who was in her maidenhood, Miss Lena Teple, was also a native of Germany. William Wilmer was educated in the district schools of the community in which his parents resided, and early in life began to assist his father with the farm work, an occupation which he has since followed. He began agricultural pursuits on his own in 1899 and now owns a well-approved farm of 105 acres of land on which he conducts general farming, although he specializes in the raising of Holstein Friesian cattle. So, important enough in the community to rate a biography, as did his brother, Charles. Charles Windler, who for the past 4 years has been conducting a hotel, saloon, and livery stable in Cleveland, is a native of Manitowoc County. And that goes on with him. Charles was reared on the farm where he was born and given the advantages of a common school education. After laying aside his textbooks, he went to Sheboygan and learned the painter's trade. 2 years later, he returned to Cleveland, and from then until the year 1908, followed his trade. On the 4th of February of the latter year, he withdrew from this and opened a hotel and saloon, in connection with which he is now also operating a livery stable. So that's the first Windlers. That's Windlers 10. And here's a photograph, no date, but early enough, perhaps about the time that was written. And here's Charlie. I love that picture. Look at all the spittoons. And there's going to be a picnic dance. I just think that's so cool. And here's another one in the dance hall. Next census, the 1920. 1920, there's William and Lena, Elma, 19, and she will go on to marry 2 people and live in the Two Rivers area. Mildred marries Henry Vandewater in around 1928. He was a very prominent lawyer in the Sheboygan area. Nita married Hugo Preuter, who was a cheesemaker. And there's Edward, and now we have little Theodore. The 1930 census. William, Lena, Edward, Theodore, and for some reason, Henry and Mildred are living with her family. I don't know why, whether it was for convenience, maybe they were saving up some money, I really don't know. But after this, he is located in Sheboygan. And in many, many, many newspaper articles, very prominent kind of guy. Charles Windler died February 1st, 1933, and what I really liked about this is he operated a soft drink parlor. Well, prohibition, whatever. But I thought that was kind of interesting, because I think probably they served other stuff too. At least them, originally, and afterwards. Frida Windler Connor, okay, this is the lady who went out to California, did come back here and was taking care of Charles before she died. She also died in 1933. And Ottilie Windler Gutsch died in 1938. The 1940 census just came out on April 2nd. So I was waiting and waiting. It was very exciting. Some of you people may be in it. I thought it would tell more than it does, but it's nevertheless interesting. The 1940, there's William and Lena Edward. He is going to marry Emma Richter in 1945. And Theodore, who's a teacher, marries Ruth Knudsen in 1945 also, and they have a hired girl. In 1941, William and Lena sell the farm to Edward for $13,000. The mortgage was for 5 years and 3% interest. What I also found was, I thought very interesting, and I'll read it to you. This was in the mortgage records. William and Lena granted to Edward the entire farm and all the cows, heifers, calves, yearlings, horses, machinery, and all the other livestock, farm machinery, implements, equipment, tools, and all hay, grain, corn, feed straw, and all other farm personal property of whatever nature and description owned by the said grantors and situated on the said real estate above described. Also agrees to furnish the parties of the second part. So Edward the son has to provide for his parents during their natural lifetime for their own separate, individual, and exclusive use the southeast bedroom and sitting room adjoining thereto on the first floor of the dwelling house, free and uninterrupted access to all other parts of the said dwelling house, including the basement, and to all other buildings. He also agreed to provide them transportation in their lifetime.
There was a bond of maintenance that was very common in those.
Yeah, interesting though.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So it's all legal. He's not just a good son. It's legal. Theodore Wimler, it turns out I could find quite a bit on him. He was, this I just thought was so great since our last 3 sessions were Spring Valley. He and his wife both worked in Spring Valley. He was a minister, she was a teacher. This is his high school yearbook picture. Teddy. Here is his, from the seminary. Here's an article where he is giving a service at the St. James, I think, United Church in Spring Valley. So I thought, isn't that interesting that we just talked about that and how it's much more meaningful to me. And this is his picture here. He was married in 1945, and it was quite a gala event. They had 200 guests. So everybody, you know, he was quite an up-and-coming young man. In 1949, William and Lena celebrated their golden wedding anniversary. It was kind of fun to read about that. In 1952, the Wimler farm was a century farm. And this article mentions that it has photographs, but nowhere do the photographs reproduce correctly, and I can't find an original newspaper to show the pictures, and that's a shame. I'd love to see it. But what's also interesting here is one of the things in the article. One of these is the 145-acre Wimler farm, located partly in Centerville and partly in Meany. Edward Wimler, a great-grandson of one of the first founders of the farm, now operates the farm. He took it over from his parents, Mr. and Mrs. William Wimler, in 1942. The farm has borne the Wimler name since 1852. In that year, Christian Robb sold 40 acres to Gottlieb. I wish I would have found this before I went through all the work. Then Franz Wimler entered the picture in 1865. In 1898, Franz Wimler sold 2 40-acre tracts to son William. In 1905, William Wimler purchased 25 acres from Otto Fisher in Centerville, and in 1919, another 40 acres from William Fisher, also in Centerville. This is the interesting part. The first home on the farm caught fire and burned to the ground when William Wendler was a boy. The new farm home is now the one occupied by Edward Wendler, present operator. So, must would have been interesting to have seen the old one. The next event that happens in the story of my barn, in 1953, it finally leaves the Wendler family and is sold to Alfred and Elsie Klessig for $11,000. There was a farm auction on May 2nd, 1953. And it lists all the things. What I find interesting is that although there are tractors and trucks, they also had a team of horses and harnesses, and all of the farm equipment and 75 chickens. But, so that was, it left the family, and that was the end of it. William Wendler died in 1954. Lena died in 1961. Emma Wendler Hammond, 1966. So she was the youngest of the children. And 37 years after leaving that family, the barn finds a new life. So this might be a good time to stop and have a break.
Sure,
Okay.
yeah, that's good.
I do have these articles and so on, and I can pass them around. And I do even have a magnifying glass because they're teeny tiny.
You want the light off? No, we'll leave the light on. I don't trust you.
Then we can see first.
But now you can see me. I like being in the dark. Are we ready?
You ready to go? Thank you.
So that was just the introduction to what the talk is really about tonight. That was a long introduction from the story. There's honesty in the back room. So, this is now the story of the barn. So, my bright idea. We had actually taken one, now I'm calling it a barn, and anybody who's a farmer probably says that's just a shed, but to me it's a barn. We had actually moved a shed barn a few years before this, intact down Centerville Road. So I'd already done that, and I needed some new idea. So I'd had my eye open for another little barn that we could move, my poor husband. And there was an ad in the paper that somebody was selling their barn. So we went to look at it. And the big barn was a big barn, and that was too much. So we knocked on the door and said, well, there's this little shed, what about that? Okay, so it was the little shed. And so we dismantled it. This was 1990. These are the blueprints. Neither of us had ever done this before. And what I did was made little tags out of soda can, or maybe they were beer can pop tops. And because they were aluminum, so I knew they wouldn't rust. And I embossed numbers in them and letters in them, so that each of the beams had a name assigned to it with my little pop top system. And each of the walls and the ceiling, the roof, I did it for all of them. Unfortunately, one of these is lost. I never thought I'd ever need them again, but I did save them. So the north side, those are all the beams, and so on and so forth. And the ceiling, and the east. What we didn't know was that, of course, the old carpenters, they didn't have pop-top lids to market. They marked it with Roman numerals, and all of the beams did have Roman numeral markings on them to match up and to keep them in order. These are not from our barn. It's a picture that I found on the internet because ours are all covered up now, but they did have those. It's all Morris and tenon and pegged. There are no nails. So this is what it looked like. This is where I had vision. My poor husband didn't quite have the vision. But he's a good guy, and he and I took down most of it ourselves. The hardest part was the roof, and there he is trying to get the roof off. I'm feeling very triumphant. And there you could start to see the skeleton. I took down all the siding myself. And some of those boards were nearly 2 feet wide. They're just beautiful, beautiful barn siding. Not everything was in good condition, and we'll talk about that. Some things were very rotten. There I am putting on my little labeling system with the beer can pop-tops. It worked. And there you can see some more of the skeleton coming down. And there. And there you can see most of the siding and the roof off. Next behind it is the big barn that he really wanted to get rid of, but that was too big. And another view. One of the best helpers we had was Glenn Virick. He died just recently, but there was a Renaissance man if ever there was one. He knew how to do everything, and he was a very much of a helper. That's Glenn standing in the doorway. So for the most part, John and I got this far by ourselves. And it's almost done. This didn't take long, a few days, I don't know. And now it's starting to look a little scary. This is my vision, don't forget. And it's done. Yeah, right. We used as many recycled materials as we could, and we were just kind of making this up as we went along. But we went to the scrapyard and got some used I-beams, which is what we put to hold the floor joists up. Oh, that's the little barn we moved intact. Then what was I going to use to preserve this wood? And I sort of made up a recipe, and I just sloshed it on. And it worked very well. We haven't had any powder post beetle that's preserved. It's beautiful. The wood grain and everything stands out. So if anybody ever wants to try it, it works very, very well. We broke ground in August of 1991. Ken Daney was our mason, and this is the plan we gave him. Can you make that? And he did. So those are the dimensions. It's roughly 20 by 24. That's my daughter. And what the plan was to add this on to our house, to make like a great room. And there's Ken and my husband John. And that's our existing house, and now you can see the foundation. We're putting up the new addition. The sill beam was very rotten, and we had to figure out, well, how are we going to make this work? So it's a stair-stepped concrete block foundation, so that the beams could set into it. The bricks that we used for the chimney are also recycled from someplace they tore down in Chilton. And now comes the fun part. We had sort of a barn raising, and John got some of his buddies from the bar for a barn raising. You'll recognize these people, and I do have a video of it. Some of it's edited, you don't have to watch the whole thing. But everybody's sort of scratching their heads trying to figure out how to put this back, kind of these Lincoln logs back up again. And we did have a few beer breaks here and there. That's the crew at that day. And, just getting together, scratching their heads, making sure we have the right beam fitting into the proper place. Starting to go up. And a little more on the most rickety ladders. Oh, OSHA was just unbelievable there. Can't believe when you see it. But these men, they loved it. And they just came to help. And people would just stop. They knew we were doing this. People would pull in their cars just to see what was going on. Some people would lend a hand in. Others just watched this little barn going up. We, this is, you can see him swinging the mallet, and this is what we used. The mortise and tenon are held together with pegs, and the pegs are called tree nails, which is, when you say it very quickly, called trunnels. And you use a wooden mallet to hammer in a trunnel so you don't smash it too badly. But that's what we use for the most part to put everything together. And you can see it in this picture. He's really swinging that thing. And I think I got that at an antique store. And here they are, contemplating, figuring things out. Because again, we had no idea really what we were doing. We just made it up as we went along. These two beams were rotten and had to be remade. This one was remade by El Ramo, and this is the absolute masterpiece. That one was made by Glenn Vurick. So he had to find a beam of the right size, measure all those intersections and recreate it, and he did just an absolutely phenomenal job. And you'll see that corner coming up. So again, just people getting together and putting it together for us. So how are we going to actually make this into a modern house with insulation and electricity and that sort of thing? What we did was we had modern framing put up on the outside. So that was all plumb, square. We could put in the insulation, the wiring, and so on. Bill Cole did most of our carpentry work. And the places where there had been doors or windows, then we utilized those again for doors or windows. The big beam is called the summer beam, and it's huge and weighs a ton. And we needed as many strong men as we could possibly find to lift that up, because we did this without any kind of mechanical help at all. It was all done by hand. And of course, you can see in the window is the kid, Josh Wagner. He's watching while his dad does the heavy lifting. Cleats in this. Mhm. And some people held the summer beam with their head and some with their hands, and everybody on rickety ladders. It's pretty scary, actually. And that one, I don't know why it's doing that. You have to crawl upside down. And this is interesting, I had no idea I had these two pictures, but you can see, here's the old, here's what they've added in. And you can see how they framed it out. So that was just chance that I had those two shots and saw it and could put them next to each other. And here's from the inside. You can see my little pop-top things, so that I didn't dare take those off. Even when it was up, I didn't dare take them off. But they worked. We didn't have any mistakes. My system worked. But you can see how they're framing this out. It came with the rafters, and they were beautiful, and they were in good shape, but the people who knew better than I wanted to keep them because they were gorgeous, but the people who actually knew something about building said that the way we constructed it, they weren't sure that the outward pressure would hold up with our kind of construction, so it was recommended that we get roof trusses. So we did, but I'm sad about that to this day. But at least my roof hasn't fallen in. And so there they are going up. And what was so funny, there's Ken Daney doing the masonry. If you know Ken Daney and you know Bill Kolb, they're kind of different. Great guys, great craftsmen. But I had dueling radios. I had Bill Kolb playing his heavy metal and Ken Daney listening to Paul Harvey. And it was fun. I really liked it. Great guys, great craftsmen. And there he is going up. He let me lay 3 bricks. I'd never laid a brick before, and he let me lay 3. That was pretty exciting. And we put him in a place where I could always go find him. And there's our chimney. And those windows, obviously, that's not how the original barn windows worked because there were no windows there, but that was such a nice shape I couldn't resist. This is not a true restoration. It's an adaptive kind of restoration. So, you can fudge a little bit. Now we get to the inside and all those beams. It was my job to put paper around all of them because we had to drywall and we had to paint, so that was quite the job to wrap every single interior beam in paper. But I was good at that kind of stuff. You can see the drywall. There's a wood-burning stove in there that heats it beautifully. It does have heat also. The drywall was not very fun for the drywallers. There's lots of little pieces, and nothing is straight, but they did it. And there I am with the paint roller. And there's John. He always got the high jobs. I like to go up high. And that's how it looks now, added onto our house. So you see, sometimes women do have bright ideas.
Let's hear it.
So that's the beam that Glenn Vurick had to recreate this one. So you can just imagine to get all those back to the original. That was really, really high. They did it just to perfection. And so now here's how my house looks, my barn. again, just by chance, I have those two pictures. Here's the picture. Here's how it looks framed out. Here's how it looks now.
Charlie Bauer here.
Thank you, Charlie.
What kind of wood is your timbers? Are they oak beams or are they
I don't
ash
know.
beams?
I don't know. Who's an old farmer here? I don't know.
It could be either or. I was just wondering.
It's one of those little sheds that all farms have. I don't know what they were even. I think machine. This had been machine. I don't think it had livestock. I don't know. But you see them on just about every single farm. I don't know how to exactly date it. It's certainly hand done. It's not sewn on machines. It's hand hewn, definitely. Which, to the best of my knowledge, is 1870s, 80s, perhaps. Or before, perhaps before. Yeah.
Fred Jacoby.
Thanks a lot, Fred.
On any number of farms, those smaller barns like that with the high roofs were the original dairy barns. I wouldn't say it on every one, but I'm aware of a number of them in town Centerville.
Yeah, so I don't do it. I think at the end of its life it was for machinery.
Oh, sure. Right after the other barns.
Oh, yes.
Earl Aldrich.
Thank
As
you.
far as the wood, it's probably tamarack. They used that whatever wood was available, like our wood, a lot of ash, some hardwood.
I think the rafters were tamarack for sure,
Yeah.
but I don't know about these other.
Whatever was most available on the farm is what they built it out of.
But it's beautiful, and you can see it's dark, and that's just with that mixture of mineral spirits and linseed oil. It's a beautiful way to preserve wood. Beautiful. And that's the door going into our main house. The floors are solid walnut, just because it looks nice. And to step up into the main house. And that's our barn Reborn.
Well done.
Beautiful, wonderful.
These are the names of the people that I'd like to thank. But most of all, to Buster Classic, who said you can have it for nothing.
Get rid of it.
I'm going to ask a favor
Yeah.
beyond that one.
Yeah.
Could you reverse backward one? I want to get the names of that one.
Maybe not.
Okay.
That's
I'm sorry if I could.
all right. There you go.
There we go. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Then I have a video to show of the people actually building it. So these are the people I can identify. If anybody recognizes anybody in the video, please let me know. I'd like to add them to my list.
Kirsten,
Yes.
Daddy has a question.
How many pop-top tabs did that take?
Um,
Or like how many cans
How many
of
beers?
beer?
I didn't drink a single one.
I think you had to convince John though.
That was no problem. There was one per bean. But I was just so afraid to take them off. So you could see they stayed on for so long. But I didn't save any. I don't have any of them. It's too bad. I didn't ever think I'd give a talk.
Go right ahead, sir.
Rick Firestar,
Thank you.
wondering where you got the stove.
I don't know.
It's not a family thing?
No,
Okay,
no.
you just purchased it
Purchased
because
it,
it was
yeah.
right for the
Mhm.
project.
Yeah.
Okay, go right ahead, sir.
Fred Jacoby.
Thank you.
What did you use for the roof? Did you put cedar shingles on?
No, I can't afford cedar shingles.
Floor,
I wish.
floor.
Oh, but that was, I can tell you where to get good flooring cheap. That would have been nice, but it wouldn't have matched the house. So it's just asphalt shingles. See now, if I could do this again, I'd do it in a heartbeat and I'd do it a little differently.
Yes, sir.
Charlie Bauer.
Thank you.
When you talk about that standing seam metal roof,
Mhm.
were there wood shingles under that? Or did it go right onto the boards?
It may have had wood shingles, I don't remember anymore. It may have.
Some of them, I think, you just put right on the boards right away.
That would kind of date the barn if you knew it had wood shingles on before they had the
Yeah.
metal on.
You might be able to tell from that. I can't remember. Maybe if we looked at the pictures real closely.
From the outside, it
Hold
looks
it,
like you had a...
hold it, your name, please.
I'm Alice Mathias.
Thank you, Alice.
From the outside, it looked like you'd have a fireplace inside, but that was just for your nice stove
Yes.
that you had inside.
Yes.
Okay,
We have a fireplace in the other.
in the other.
room.
Yep, anybody else? Okay,
We'll have to do the DVD.
So if you want to just give us a moment, then we'll put the DVD in. You can see it in action.
very good. Thank you. Right ahead, if you like, please.
Okay, this is a video taken back a long time ago on a very lousy piece of equipment by a very terrible videographer who never, ever, ever dreamed anybody would be looking at this except for us. But anyway, you'll get to see the men putting it up, scratching their heads, fumbling a little bit, figuring it out. Some trial and error. If you recognize anybody and they're not on my list, let me know.
Might have to switch the bottom, so you have to play it. Okay, it's gonna... No, I don't know much about it.
There isn't much talking.
There's not much talking.
More
How
sweet.
old a show is this?
Well, my brother is a videographer and I had him edit out my stupid comments. There should be some volume. Is there some? There we go. Very good. Aw. Yep, sleep. Harry O'Brien, Pete Klavacek, Penny Hansen.
Was that a metal nail?
Oh, there's no nails in this part. In the modern part, yes, but not in this part. You can see one of the pegs, the trowels. This is a little beam. Wait till you see the big beam.
I don't even hear any swearing.
No.
They took that out too?
No, just me. Nobody got hurt. Not taking it down, not putting it up.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Steel balls.
Now, my dear husband's not using a wooden mallet on that peg. Nancy, wait. So they had to figure out what order to put things up in so that it wouldn't all tip over, and yet you didn't put things together too soon.
I was amazed when I got here, my God. I thought I was going to see the first thing in the world. When it's all made, and they put the white complicated one.
Those are the kernels. These are my brothers. And my brother is a ham. This one you'll hear in a minute.
Hi, Bob Beal here, this old house.
So there you can see one of my little tags. Tags, see the tags?
Good. Hi.
So a few of the smaller ones had to be recreated, but those were so difficult.
Down. Okay, keep going, sir. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Okay, you're seated.
Was there a foreman person that you were?
No, if anyone was a foreman, it would have been Glenn Berry. So people just came to watch. Notice they aren't helping. Watching.
When was this built?
1991.
Yeah.
Are you running the video camera?
Pardon?
Are you running the video? Not bad at all. Very well.
Okay, so this isn't even the big B. That's a little close there.
Okay, now take it down, take it down.
So don't forget, yeah, these are heavy. Very heavy.
I'm ready, it's gotta get through. You gotta put that full on. There we go.
And I was always so afraid the whole thing would just go down in a pile of sticks.
So this one's jamming here. Yep, that one's right there, John.
So you can see that one's not in yet down here. It's not in properly. So there's some wiggling.
That was someone being.
I think so, right?
Looks like the top plate.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Nope, not yet.
Not yet, really?
Down.
Got it on the end here. Oh. Okay. Now you gotta hit that bottom.
Yeah, you can't go faster than the guy on the other end or it doesn't go in right. So it's really teamwork.
Foundation?
Yeah.
Want the valve? I would pull that this way with that pipe.
Coil.
Keep it in now?
What's the height of the sidewall then? 10 feet, 12 feet?
I don't know. I never measured it. Sorry. So now here they're putting on the modern construction. So this was sort of a stair step thing, so they could rest on there.
Hold it, hold it.
Now's the big one.
They turned it that way.
And they're just doing it all 100% by hand. And so Bill made a brace to help him hold that in. The tags are still there. The trusses were used in another barn, so they didn't go to waste. I mean, the rafters.
I have to ask, do the insurance companies get involved with this type of construction or not?
I don't know. It's too late now. I laid 3 bricks just above the cleanout. We were hoping to get it all closed and everything by Christmas because we were having John's family from England and we wanted the room to be ready.
Wow.
How long did it take you from taking it down until completion?
Well, it crossed over a winter, but
Over a winter.
I don't remember exactly, but from the weather, it's snowing. I think I finally took my tags off. But that was a job to wrap all those beams with paper. But
That ladder, that stay up there?
somebody probably walked on it, you know.
Oh. Very nice.
Anybody have any other questions? I don't know the answers, obviously, because I never thought I'd be talking about it.
You kind of said you'd do it again in a
In a
heartbeat.
heartbeat.
My question was, did you hang a shingle out and advertise?
I know, but I would love to, and I drive around looking at little barns that are falling down and dreaming about them. I do.
What would you like to build next?
I'd do that, I'd help anybody who ever wanted to do that.
Oh, I
I mean,
see.
I would love to do it, yeah. Love it.
I have a question because I came in a little late. I'm sorry. I'm Shepherd Goodnow.
Thank you.
I'm calling because I'm calling. I was wondering your poetic, the way you first started your presentation about the children in the barns.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a poem that you wrote yourself?
No, it's taken from a book, Old Barns in the New World, Reconstructing History by Richard Babcock,
Okay.
who's one of the most famous timber framers.
Okay. Well,
out there.
I love that
It's
one.
beautiful,
really,
isn't
yeah.
it? Yeah. I didn't write it, but
Okay.
it's beautiful. And that's what it is when you go in a barn and it's like
Yeah.
a church.
Yeah.
Charlie Bauer,
Yes, sir.
when you decided to put it back together, was there a discussion of whether to put the walls together on the ground and set the wall up as a one instead of
Well,
doing
we
it piece
didn't-
by piece?
We may have discussed it, but I don't remember. But since we did it so exactly by hand, I think we just did it this way. I don't know if we really debated on it, because I know that's how they did barns, you know, they lay it out and then bring it up,
To
but
bring it up.
we didn't.
So you did, Kathy Sixel?
Yes.
So you did have to do some planning because
Yes.
you had that window on the top.
Yeah.
And that stayed exposed, or did it get covered?
From our regular house,
Yeah.
that is exposed, and so that was partly how we decided the roof pitch and height.
Okay, yeah.
But as you saw, the Candani Mason plans was literally this little thing on a piece of paper. So he did it, you know.
Very
Yeah.
good.
Did you ever count how many actual pieces there were?
No. No, but we could.
Yeah,
We could look at a
they're
picture and do
exposed.
it. Mhm.
Yeah,
They're all exposed.
very good.
And the original carpenter's marks, those Roman numerals are on the outside. So they're not on the inside. They were covered by the siding.
They're referred to as marriage marks.
Marriage marks?
Yeah. So you married one piece to the
Oh,
other,
okay.
and you have a match, yeah. They're marriage marks,
Kathy Sixel, why did you put it on the outside? Why didn't you have it exposed? Because it was on the outside on the shaft?
That would have had to reverse the beam, yeah.
Beams, okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else got anything you want to add? Or question?
Or correct?
Or correct? Yeah, we got 15 minutes yet, or...
Oh, well, Kenny Hawkins, why did you choose to call it the Husband House?
That's our last name.
Oh.
But that's a good question.
That's a good question.
That's a good answer.
There was something mentioned by somebody here pertaining to like a marriage thing with the Wilmer families, that everything was processed to the next relative or to the wife or something. Somebody mentioned something and it had a special name to it. Marriage, when they provided everybody a certain...
Oh, a place to stay when they're old age kind of thing?
Something
I
like
don't
that,
know.
yeah.
Bond of maintenance?
Where was that again?
Bond of maintenance.
Could you say your name, please?
I'm Gertie Freed. That was very popular in the early 1900s when parents would more or less give their farms and that to the children, but they provided them in that transaction was that they would have to provide for them to stay, place for them to stay,
Okay.
food, and sometimes it even said how many bushels of potatoes and meat and all that if they didn't eat together.
Really?
It was very specific.
Wow, never realized
Oh,
that.
yes, I grew up in a house like that, but I mean, that was I've done a lot of real estate work, and that's very common in between 1900 and 1940.
Okay.
Times were tough. People had to survive, and
Yeah.
that was...
And there wasn't this assisted living, nor was there nursing homes, I guess?
Absolutely not, no.
Okay, well, very good, thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Oh.
June Smazel, question, what would you redo? You said that you had to do it over. There's something you would do different.
The one thing that is, well, and that was, maybe it couldn't be done differently, it's, the beams sit on a sill, kind of about this high, which is okay. I would, if I had got this all the way around, but it's kind of narrow, so, my bottom doesn't fit real well. So if I had to do that, I'd make it, even more of a seat. The windows, I like how we have those windows that are just mimicking the shape. So I like that. Cedar shake or shingle would have been nice. Little things, but the actual construction has held up pretty well. It's a couple little scary things. Because it's heated, the wood dries in winter and it does tend to separate a little bit. And the beams do pull apart, and every winter I hold my breath, but so far nothing has actually pulled totally apart and it stays together. So, perhaps there's better construction techniques than we did, but we didn't know. But not any major things, probably.
Okay.
Anybody else? Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Okay, I want to thank Kristen for the nice presentation and everybody attending here. And next month, we're hoping to be in the Wells Fargo room.
Well, we hope, but we got switched 3 times this time. So.
Yeah, we got bumped out because the town of Centerville is using our room tonight. So
I want everybody to read the card. Just don't assume to go up the ramp.
And thank you for standing out there tonight.
Yeah, so we're just gonna pass the microphone around again and just state your name, and we'll start with Kathy here. I'll start with myself.
Oh, okay, Kathy will give us the next meeting time?
Okay, then I'll pass the mic to Kathy.
Sure.
Kathy Sixel, our next meeting is going to be by Mr. Ron Prawl. And the Prawls had the barber shop in Cleveland many years ago. And he's coming up from Madison to be our presenter. And then we'll probably have a short clip because we don't know how long it's going to last. And it's the second Monday in May. So I don't know what the date is right offhand. I don't have a calendar along, so. And I want to thank Kirsten for the wonderful presentation. Very educational, wonderful. Thank you.
Kenny Hawkins, Sheboygan.
Thank you.
For Goodnow, Sheboygan.
Thank you.
Philip Knopf, Kale.
Thank you.
Jim Kettler, Cleveland, and the second Monday is the 14th.
Good.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Patty Groupie, Cleveland.
Thank you.
Gertie Free, Cleveland.
Richard Schwartz, Mimi.
Yeah.
Alice Matthias, Cleveland. Irene Dine, Cleveland.
Lisa Elson, Newton. Marie Rosenbauer, Newton.
Thank you.
Earl Aldrich, Centerville.
Thank you.
Paul Schwinn, Cleveland.
Thank you.
Frederick Jacoby, Manitowoc.
Thank you.
Rick Buttersdorf, Meeting.
Thank you.
Ken Smazel, Rockville.
June Smazel, Rockville.
Thank you.
Maria Wolfel, Kiel.
Thank you.
Don Schneider, Lewis Corners.
I'm Charlie Bauer from Newton, and we got our cameraman and our presenter yet.
Okay. And I'm Jerry O'Neill from Newton also, and again, I want to thank everybody for coming this evening. You provided a lot of good questions and information also. Thank you.
And the last one up.
K.Husband, Cleveland.
Very good. Thank you again for the presentation.
Thanks everybody for coming out tonight.